So the second chapter is called Mucalinda because the first sutta of that is based on that story of Mucalinda Naga who protected the Buddha for 1 week when there was a lot of storm in the Bodhi. That is immediately after Buddha's enlightenment. For 1 week he sat at the river bank and below this tree called Mucalinda tree. So there on that, when he was meditating, then the storms came and then this Naga king also, whose name is Mucalinda, he came and protected. So this is first Naga things. जो वहाँ पे देखा होगा ना बोधगया में बनाया हुआ है तो पौंड है और उसके ऊपर ऐसे शेषनाग की तरह बड़ा है उसको मुचलिंदा बोलते हैं. So that is the story. Based on that is the probably on the basis of this sutta that story has been found. So we'll study this Mucalinda Sutta. So start.
एवं इष्टम एकम समयम भगवा पूर्वेलायम विहरति नज्जनेरन्यजराय धीरे मुचलिंद मूले पठमाभि संबुद्ध.
Pratamavi Sambuddha Avyadi recently awakened. That is immediately after awakening. So Buddha was staying in Vivela on the bank of Niranjana river, the root of Mucalinda tree. So this means that the event happened at the river bank. While the present place is quite far away from the river.
जो अब वहाँ है रिवर तो है.
रिवर है ना उससे दूर है ना वो बोध गया का टेम्पल और पेड़.
ये जो रिवर के पास हुआ
यहाँ तो सूत्र में तो लिखा हुआ कि रिवर के पास था पेड़, रिवर के बैंक के ऊपर पेड़ था. अब हो सकता है रिवर की डायरेक्शन बदल गई. नेवर नो.
ये तो जहाँ बोध गया बना उसका वो रिवर
पहले वहीं हो सकता है.
ट्री तो वहीं है ना वो.
हाँ बोधि ट्री भी वहीं पे ही है. So maybe the river changed its course over the thousands of years.
तेन कोपन समयेन भगवा सत्ताहम एक पल्लखेन निशिस्सनो
होती
विमुक्ति सुख प्रतिसंवेद.
विमुक्ति सुख प्रतिसंवेद. I hope you understand these things now. तेन कोपन समयेन उस समय भगवान सप्ताह एक हफ्ते सप्ताह के लिए एक पल्लंके नाथ में क्रॉस लेग्ड सती पठानी आता साइड क्रॉस लेग्ड निसन्न होती विमुक्ति सुख प्रतिसंग एक्सपीरियंसिंग द ब्लिस ऑफ लिबरेशन. ही सेड जस्ट क्रॉस लेग्ड फॉर 1 week विदाउट मूविंग एट ऑल.
लिबरेशन हुआ होगा तो
इसके बाद या अच्छा
समझ लो हैप्पीनेस है वो भी तो रात
नहीं है ना. ये तो हमारा गलत फहमी है ना कि हैप्पी होने तो राग जाता है. प्रीति is a part of 7 factors of enlightenment. You have to see, being happy is not a raga. It is an experience. Now, how you handle it is different. That can create raga.
तेन को पन्न समयेन महा काल मेघो उपाधि सत्ता हवा धलिका सीता पता तुथुनी अतको मुचलिंदो नागराजा सक्का भवना निखमित्वा भगवतो खायम सत्कतुम भोगेहि परिक्षिप्त्वा पारिबुद्धानि महंतम फनम विचच्च अर्थसी मां भगवंतं सीतं मां भगवंतं पानम मां भगवंतं दम
Vamsa, Makasa, वात गठा का था वात तपस्सिर तप वात तप सरिसप्पा संफस्सो थी। समय उस समय महाअकाल मेघो उत्पाद महाअकाल सडनली ह्यूज स्टॉर्म रोज अप सप्ताह Vadalika, and for 7 days there was rainy weather, Sitava, there were cold winds and extremely unsettled weather. Atko Mucalinda Nagaraja, when the Mucalinda, the king of the Nagas, leaving his dwelling place, भगवतो कायम भगवान की काया को सत्य खत्म भोगे ही 7 बार परिखप्य थे, उनका परिक्रमा 7 बार करके कवर कर दिया. He covered his body with his huge snake body, and then फनम विहिच्चा 88 फन को फैलाते उनके सिर के ऊपर रख के बैठ गया वहाँ पे. Sat there with his foot spread over the blessed one. Why? महा भगवंतम शीतम, भगवान को ठंड न लगे. महा भगवंतम उनको गर्मी न लगे. महा भगवंतम दंश ताप, उनको कोई मक्खियां मच्छर वगैरह ना काटे. So with that thought, he sat there for 1 week. को भगवत है तस्य सप्ताहम अच्छा ये एक हफ्ते के समाप्त होने के बाद तब वहाँ समाधि उठसी, उस समाधि से उठे. अथ को मुचलिंद नागराजा विद्युम विगत विलाह देवम. When the Nagaraja, realizing that the Devam means the cloud, the sky, had cleared up, then he unraveled his coils from the body of the Buddha and dropped his own appearance, and assuming the appearance of a Manava Pavana, एक human being का, young man का appearance लेके भगवतो पूरतो 88 stood in front of the blessed one, भगवंतम नमस्य मानव पंजलि को, मतलब उनके हाथ जोड़ के ऐसे उनके सामने खड़ा हो गया, paying homage to him. अथको भगवा एतम अर्थम विदित्वा तयम बेलायम इमम उदानम उदासने. ये आपको याद होगा, this is a constant phrase in the whole of the Udana. That realizing the significance of that, the blessed one explained when he said this Udana. Sukho viveko tuthasya sutta dhammasya pasyato abhyapajam sukham loke panabhute susanyana. Sukho viveko tuthasya, one who is santusht, one who is contented, for whom sukho viveko, the solitude is blissful. Sutta dhammasya pasyato, who has heard the Dhamma and who sees Abhyapajyam Sukham Loke, non-affliction, Vyapad ka absence bhi Sukh hai, is blissful in this world. Pana Bhutesu Sanyama, and restraint towards other living beings gives joy. Sukha Viragata Loke Kamanam Samatikkamo Asmi Manasya Yo Vinayo Etam Va Paramam Sukha. So blissful is Viragata, dispassion. Rag ka end hona is very blissful. कामानम समतिक्रमो, and overcoming the sensuality, कामनाओं को अतिक्रमण करना. अस्मि मानस्य ये विनयो, और जो अस्मि मान है, फीलिंग ऑफ आई एम, उसको हटा देना. एतम वा परमम, that is truly the supreme bliss. So he points out what is the supreme bliss. Asmi manasya ye vinyo. So to subdue the conceit I am is the supreme bliss. That is the first Udana.
So on the complete of I am, I think in the Q&A, Raj had a couple of times mentioned that your true nature is consciousness.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, but
He mentions it in a, not in the theoretical sense, mentions it from the practice. So इनकी बातों को अगर हम कहते हैं ना ट्रेडिशनल थ्योरी से मैच करने लगेंगे तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी. So we should see that it doesn't mean that is the essence which is always present. It means that our attachment to body-mind complex is not really what it is. Our true nature is that of awakened being, the awakening power. The Buddha who कहते हैं ना, Buddha you should be the knowing one rather than being the known one. So that Buddha is awareness primarily. He even says mindfulness and consciousness is same. Obviously, is meaning in terms of the practice, not in terms of theory. If you see the theoretical dispositions, they are more subtle than that. He's talking from the practice point of view, that mindfulness is a characteristic of consciousness. Of course, it is. It is one of the Chetsikas which arises along with consciousness. As long as his term consciousness primarily means life force.
when he says that your true nature is consciousness, he's talking about from his own experience. Maybe he's saying that's your true nature is.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that is the one is equipped, because when I एक बार पूछा था उनसे इस बारे में, then he said, I think he didn't give any reply. And Ashoka said he doesn't reply to theoretical questions or something to that effect. मैंने लिखा था उनको, पर उन्होंने जवाब नहीं दिया उसको. मैंने उनको लिखा था क्वेश्चन बाद में, तो then I thought he's not interested in giving replies to these questions. मैंने पूछा था, लिखा था. और you remember जब हम गए थे तब भी ये सवाल पूछे, तब भी उन्होंने यही आंसर. Then when we had gone, if you remember, then also I had, मैं तो आ गया था, मैंने आपको कहा था ना, आपसे या किससे कौन से कहा था, चलो आपसे कहा ये क्वेश्चन पूछेगा. Then again he pointed out that this is the when he talks of consciousness, he does not distinguish between sense sphere consciousness and the what is called, this Ajahn Amru has mentioned in that book, if you read Sound of Silence, so preface में उन्होंने mention किया ये बात, that he uses the words in simple way. He doesn't distinguish between, for example, many times between consciousness and mindfulness, many times between ordinary sense sphere consciousness and Anudasana Vijnana.
So that question was asked last time जो Q&A था, जब आप सब लोग गए थे, तो this is a specific question that asked on the sense sphere consciousness, and then he did
distinguish between them, isn't it? So when he is in this discourse, when he is talking consciousness is our true nature, he properly refers to Anudasana Vijnana, because that is something which is not manifest. Everything is manifest from through that. You can always make a statement for sake of understanding that Anudasana Vijnana is manifesting as consciousness through human beings also. But that's not an experience of a normal human being. The experience of Anudasana Vijnana is the prerogative of anants. So he's not making a statement of the same kind as Vedanta makes.
I'm not equating it to that.
Because then there can be confusions. This can claim that we have our true nature or something.
But maybe that is true also.
I don't know.
Because he
doesn't distinguish between them. But when I asked him specifically, I asked him, then of course I asked others. Bhikkhu was of course very clear in now saying that this is wrong. Then I asked him specifically this question. He said this is not in accordance with it.
Yeah, but Bhikkhu was maybe trying to find answers from
the tradition. He's talking to the teachings.
And maybe I think from his own experience, because I think he is not talking of something which is unmanifest. He says it is right here, right now. It's very normal.
Yeah, it is last year. Of course, unmanifest is all the time. Right? Gravity is every time. Isn't it?
But he's saying that people.
See, that explanation is very powerful. The Nyananand ne diya hai. That makes sense to me. You see, gravity is present everywhere, no? But where is it? It manifests only when a thing falls down. Okay? Electromagnetic field is present everywhere. But it manifests only when you put on the cell phone or you put on a radio or a television. Then it becomes manifest. But it is present everywhere, obviously. In the same way, Anidrasana Vijnana is present everywhere. But it manifests through the eyes, through the ears, through the trees, through the stones. It manifests in different forms.
Advanced also mentions that this consciousness or the Buddha, that which was is unconditioned.
Yeah, that is I don't think that is really strictly the statement in accordance with the Buddha's teachings.
But from his own experience, he says
that he doesn't use language precisely, and that is very true. I will be sending a letter. I will send you the email of Ashok. You send him that again. Maybe तुमको जवाब दे देंगे. मेरे को पहले नए भी गाने शिफ्ट करा दिया, तो हमारा मन तब पता चलेगा. ठीक है यार.
This is वो अनंत का question है. I think this is very I think important question for because he talks.
But it doesn't matter to us. Does it matter? It doesn't matter at all. Unless we are interested in proving something, it doesn't matter at all. To me now it doesn't matter. Yes, I understand it quite comprehensively. That's absolutely no doubt in my mind now about what does it really mean. What does, because thanks to that Bhikkhu Nyanananda's detailed description, I have read 3-4 books of his, is very, very clearly explained. Because it falls in consonance with the teachings. When I have a feeling that whatever is given in Tipitaka I should be honored. You cannot agree that this is the word of Buddha and then say it is not. That will create a doubt in my mind. So I don't want to get into that. So the statement which he mentions in 2 places, Chitta is, Buddha himself says, Chitta is absolutely luminous and all that, and it is defiled by the defilements. But Chitta is pure. Same thing Ashoka Sumedho is saying. But we know what does it mean. What does it mean? It doesn't mean the same thing as the Vedanta talks of pure consciousness. It doesn't mean.
Somehow I feel that they're talking the same thing. Because my interpretation of when, for example, Ajahn Sumedho says that have confidence in awareness, have trust in awareness. Somehow to me,
because awareness by itself is pure, isn't it? Awareness by itself is a pure thing. In the pure in what sense? In the sense that it is not influenced by what it is aware of.
And when, at least the way I was discussing with relation also, when he was talking of trust, confidence, and so many other things, I kind of interpreted that as kind of a refuge in awareness. I think it kind of शरण देने की जो बात करते हैं.
When you say taking refuge in Buddha, he says take Buddha means awareness. That's true. Of course. Buddha is the awakened one. Awakened means he's just aware of what is happening without getting trapped in that of what he is aware of. For us, we get trapped in what we are aware of. So that is the operative part for us from the practice point of view. That we be aware of things, don't get trapped in them. So when we get trapped in them, the other sankharas arise. Pure consciousness would mean when there is no other than the 7 universal mental factors, nothing else is present. So you're just seeing, you're just thinking, just aware, hearing, smelling, tasting.
And as per the word used by Ajahn Sumedho, that is unconditioned.
You can say it is unconditioned, but it's
unconditioned, unborn, uncreated.
Yeah, he uses. But what is unconditioned, unborn, uncreated? must understand. Buddha doesn't say that mindfulness is unconditional. That's very clear, absolutely. So you have to choose. You have to choose between them. But that doesn't say mindfulness is unconditioned. It is conditioned, of course. And we know it is not unconditioned. We are not always in mindfulness. We are not always aware. We are practicing so hard for so many years. It arises, passes away, we know. And he himself, Buddha himself says, Sati is there, be aware of the arising of Sati, be aware asamtangas, ajatang, Sati sambo jango. We read it in the discourse. At the moment Sati is not present in me, he knows. The very moment he knows, he is aware. So the Buddha is very clearly mentioning that Sati is a factor which arises and passes away. So we can't deny it. There is no way we can deny it. It's essentially a question of use of language.
लेकिन जिस समय लिबरेशन आएगा या उस समय सती कंटिन्यूसली रहती होगी ना. सती कभी ऐसा भी तो होगा कि जब समय रहेगी तभी लिबरेट होगा ना. अगर वो कंडीशंस के हिसाब से ऊपर नीचे जाएगी तो it means you are not in the direction.
It is the question is that is the state of an arhat. He is always mindful. That is true. People they are not always, there are always ups and downs. Even the conceit remains. अनंत बनने से पहले अनागामी में भी ये अस्मिमान जो अभी पढ़ रहे थे ना, अस्मिमान का भाव रहता है ना, मैं हूँ. So obviously there is a delusion. Delusion is present to some extent. Restlessness is present. It's amazing to see that. Even restlessness is present in an anagami. Obviously not of the kind which we experience. There is a difference, a sense of unease that whatever is to be learned. जैसे इस बार अजान सुबह ने कहा ना, there is nothing more to learn. ऐसा statement दिया है ना.
My life's purposes.
उससे पहले कहा ना, it now seems there is nothing more to learn. So that kind of a statement only an arhat can make. Nobody can make it. So we need not get into theoretical dispositions because we will be caught in that state very, very badly.
Somehow मुझे वो theoretical नहीं बड़ा foundational लगता है.
इस sense में.
I think what he says is that the unconditioned is always there. It's like now, and if the consciousness
unconditioned by its nature is always there.
And consciousness is that.
Infinite is
right. So that is what
infinite cannot be present somewhere.
And that also means that
whether we have access to it. The issue is that whether we are having access to unconditioned all the time or not.
And the way I interpret the answer is that consciousness is the unconditioned. We kind of don't have access to it always.
And we are always conscious.
But we don't
we are always conscious. We are not unconscious. Yes. Then why don't we have access to unconditioned?
I think that is what I'm saying. We have access to it. We kind of get deluded most of the time by not being conscious to it. By being
how one will be conscious to it? Just agreeing by intellect that we are experiencing unconditioned. Will that help in any way?
Obviously, because that is in the mind. Being conscious of the fact that we are thinking about this is the Buddha.
You are just aware. You see, mindfulness is a factor which gives us the ability to be aware of whatever is happening. There is for example, there is a seeing of the flower at this moment, and there is an awareness that I am seeing it. They are two different things.
And that awareness that I am seeing it, isn't that?
It's not unconditioned because I don't have it all the time. I don't have it all the time. I get lost. I get lost in what a beautiful flower. Then I start thinking I should buy it. I've lost the mindfulness. I've got lost in that. The thing which is seen has captivated me. You know? This is an experience now. Abhi tumhara yahi experience hai na. So let's not deny that.
Yeah, I'm not denying it.
Because otherwise we will fall in a big trap. Let's not deny that. So when Arhat says something, we should see it, he is saying from his perspective. And he is telling us he is raising our awareness level to that.
So Arhat also says that, he kind of made arahantship such a high thing. He's saying that the unconditioned is not a very high thing. It is in moments. It's available to us right now.
We can't say that we are in a day we have 20 seconds I am an arahant, but running 3400 seconds I am not. It doesn't make sense.
No. So he gives some of these examples, which is my interpretation of what he was saying. Is space and things. Space is always there, and because when we focus on things, we get caught into things.
Why? Why do we get caught?
Because of the delusion.
Why?
Right? Because we are kind of focusing on that. As soon as we defocus on that, we are aware of the space around it. I think even in the mind, that is true. Because when we focus on seeing or the object of seeing, we get caught into it. When we defocus on it,
but the arahant does not get caught into it.
Arahant does not get caught.
Right. So there is a difference, no? There is a difference between the state of mind of an arahant and my state of mind, isn't it?
Which is true.
Which is true, no?
Which is true.
And therefore, I cannot claim that for 5 seconds in a day I am an arahant, for 95 seconds I am a Kshatriyana. Because that's what exactly is the danger in saying that unconditioned is being experienced by us all the time.
At least Jansamidhu says.
No, he's not saying that. You have to see that. You have to see what he means. He says, because of the unconditioned, the condition is operating. Because of the conditioned arises out of unconditioned. So I think I read it in one of the books. The conditioned arises out of unconditioned, which is very true. The consciousness by which we see is arising because there is something which allows this instrument, as long as there is life force. That's why I made that statement while studying about Abhidhamma. Life force is such a nebulous thing. Now we don't know what the hell does life force mean. So as long as life force is there and the unconditioned is manifesting and allowing me to see, allowing me to hear, allowing me to smell, taste. So consciousness, sensual consciousness, is a manifestation of unconditioned through the organism. Through this organism, it manifests in these ways. When my eyes get spoiled, then it cannot manifest in eye consciousness. Finished. If the same unconditioned manifests through trees in a totally different way, through animal in a totally different way. So in that sense, there is unconditioned. But it is not something which we can say, I mean, in a practical sense, it can say unconditioned is my true nature, yeah. In a practical sense, it is true. Because it is true that it has come out.
He is not saying it in a poetic or theoretical sense. He's
saying it in experiential sense because he is an arahant.
No, but he is saying it to others also who are not arahants, that you are missing it because you believe it is something very high. It is right there, right now, available to you.
It is available to you through the sense organs. You are able to see only the eye, through the eye, because unconditioned is operating through you. That's what is drawing the attention. So, we must try to have confidence. The basic idea is that people have given up hope that it possibly nahi. So he's trying to give us hope. ऐसा नहीं है कि it is possible नहीं है, अभी भी available है. देखो तो सही. It is operating through you all the time, and you are refusing to see it. Obviously, that's true. But we don't have an access to it immediately, constantly. We don't have. So that differentiation is very crucial, because otherwise one can get astray. One can see like the typical Vedantin, we are fully enlightened. Thus, I am sitting and able to feel the body sensations, and I am Chetana Pura. That's what happens.
I mean,
you feel that way.
It may not be true that if we believe in this, that this deteriorated assumptions will always turn out to be the reality. These people
deteriorated assumption
of some of the Vedantists who start to say that is the deteriorated kind of outcome of that.
But even if you assume it, how does it help? That is the point.
it gives lot more confidence in the consciousness. The what is consciousness? At least it gives huge amount of confidence that we could do lot more faithful refuge in it.
No, that's okay. If that is the object to see. But look at what Buddha says. Consciousness is a magician's trick. You can't deny that. We're all caught in a magician's trick, and if you see through that trick, you're free. You see? That is a very, very powerful discourse. You have to understand that. You have to reflect deeply. I spent, I don't know how many hours trying to understand matlab kya hai yaar iska. You can't figure out. You can figure out the rupa, you can figure out vedana, you can figure out sanya as a mirage. Everything is quite clear. I mean, comparatively easy. But consciousness is a magician's trick. So if he is pointing out that please see. So Nana ने बहुत अच्छी तरह explain किया है that if you are sitting behind on a magician's stage and see ये magician किस तरह पागल बना रहा है हमको, then you will be free. You will not be trapped in his trick. You will see, still you will see his trick. हाँ देखो ऐसे किया और कबूतर बना दिया, but you know क्या कर रहा है वो. Then you are seeing through that whole trick. So that kind of insight is needed to be able to see through that magician's trick, and then we will be really not get caught in this world. It is actually consciousness which is captivating us. I am that. That is the real trouble. Our real bondage is because we associate ourselves with the sense sphere consciousness. मैं जान रहा हूँ, मैं देख रहा हूँ, मैं सुन रहा हूँ. This is the final trap. और अगर हम इसी को सच मान लेंगे, तो we'll be trapped forever. We'll never be able to get out of it. So we have to see the perspective of an arahant and the perspective of a other person. He is giving us confidence because when we asked him, इस बार तो मैंने कहा था ना क्वेश्चन भी, वो हमारे साथ अनीश गया था, तो मैंने उसको फोर्स किया तो पूछ तो दे हो सकता है कि नहीं. हाँ, he said कि वो hopeless था सर, because in the tradition even in Thailand generally people say आजकल तो हो नहीं सकता, it's not possible to enter the stream and to enter the. ये पुरानी बात है. इस समय तो हम दान करो मोनेस्ट्री चले जाओ, उनको नमस्कार कर लो, काफी है. But that is the kind of statement which exists even in Thailand among the lay people. Not to talk of our country. And even ours also, हमारे meditators को भी ये लगा दिया गया कि वो बहुत impossible सी चीज है, बहुत बड़ी बात है, वहाँ तक पहुँचना तो बहुत मुश्किल. So to quell that query, that kind of confidence is very helpful. That you practice properly, you see through the delusion of Sakkaya-Ditthi, you will enter the stream. Isn't it? That is key thing. How will you see through the delusion of Sakkaya-Ditthi? Not the assumption that I am experiencing unconditioned. You can't. You will be caught. So one has to work to see through the delusion of Sakkaya-Ditthi. See, what does it Sakkaya-Ditthi mean? I am attached to the body, attached to the mind, attached to the perception, attached to consciousness. Now, that is where the biggest problem is there.
So this is consciousness is unconditioned.
No, that's not. That's what is the problem. I suggest you read the. I think I will get you that. You read Sound of Silence introduction. I'll get it. I think it's good to discuss it and be done with it once and for all. But he uses the words very. दीपक चुपचाप बैठा है. हम बोले जा रहे हैं. यहाँ से बोल रहे हैं. यहाँ से कह रहे सर. यहाँ से पढ़ा पूरा 2 पेज. सोच रहा हूँ बोले जा रहे हैं.
समझने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. The second term that Ajahn Sumedho has given particular meaning to it is intuitive awareness. As with the sound of silence, There are many places in the talks contained here, particularly in the chapter Intuitive Awareness itself, where he elucidates the ways in which he is using this term. However, it might be helpful here to reflect a little on its usage, just to clarify it in relation to other ways of employing the same words. In this book, the phrase intuitive awareness is the translation of Sati Sampajanya. The quality of Sati Sampajanya is part of continuum of three elements. The first element is Sati, the raw, mindful cognizance of an object. The second element being Sati Sampajanya, referring to the mindful, intuitive awareness of an object with its context. The final element is Sati Panya, usually translated as mindfulness and wisdom, which refers to the appreciation of an object in respect to the essential nature as transitory, unsatisfactory, and non-self.
So just one minute. See, he uses the word synonymously. They are not. That is the point. Because he uses from practical point of view. He assumes that you will be always observing it wisely. Then for him Sati Sampajanya is same thing as Sati Panya. But as he is pointing out, they have a different nuance. Sampajanya is comprehensive awareness. Panya is investigating that awareness and understanding its three lakshanas.
Ajahn used to characterize the relationship between the three elements as being like hand, arm and body. Sati is that which picks things up. Sampajanya is like the arm that enables the hand to get to the required place. Panya is the body which provides it with the life force and the directive element. Throughout these talks, Ajahn Sumedho develops the connection between the terms Sati, Sampajanya and intuitive awareness. In so doing, he is endeavoring to clarify and expand the common rendering of Sampajanya as clear comprehension or even self-awareness. His chief concern is that these translations do not give a sense of the true broadness of that clarity. Thus he is experimenting with an expression that conveys a deliberately expansive quality and that includes the element of mystery. For it is important for the English wording also to imply an attunement of the heart to experiences that thinking mind cannot understand or that he says as foggy, confused or uncertain. The word intuitive is used because it is perfectly conveys the mixture of the genuine appreciation. The word intuitive is used because it perfectly conveys the mixture of a genuine apprehension of reality, yet also the reason why things are the way they might also not be all that apparent. The final and the perhaps most significant term to look at this in light of consciousness. The Pali word Vijnana is almost invariably translated in English as consciousness. In Buddhist psychology, Vijnana generally means discriminative consciousness that acts via one of the six sense doors: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body or mind. It means the act of cognizing a knowable object. However, this is not the only way the Buddha uses the term. As Ajahn Sumedho observes, there are two places in the discourses where a suitably different set of qualities are associated with the term. The phrase he quotes, Vijnanam adina dasam anattam sapato paham, comes in the part of the Nikaya 11.85 in the Kevadha Sutta, and in the part of Majjhima Nikaya 49.25. The former passage comes at the end of the colorful and the lengthy teaching tale recounted by the Buddha. He tells of a monk in whose mind this question arises. I wonder where is that the four great elements, earth, water, fire and wind, cease without reminder. Being a skillful meditator, the bhikkhu in question enters a state of absorption and the path to the gods become open to him. He begins by putting his question to the first gods he meets, then retinue of the four heavenly kings, the guardians of the world. They demur, saying that they do not know the answer, because the four kings themselves probably do. He should ask them. He does, they do not, and the search continues. Onward and upward through successive heavens he travels, continually being met with same reply. We do not know, but you should try asking, and is referred to a next higher level of celestial hierarchy. Patiently enduring the protracted process of this cosmic chain of command, he finally arrives in the presence of the retinue of Mahabrahma and puts a question to them. Once again they fail to produce an answer, but they assure him that the great Brahma himself should he deign to manifest, will certainly provide him the resolution he seeks. Sure enough, before too long Mahabrahma appears, but he too does not know the answer, and he chides the monk for being a disciple of Buddha, yet not going to his own teacher with such a question. When he finally meets a Buddha and asks him, he receives this reply: "But monk, you should not ask your question in this way. Where do four great elements, earth, water, fire, wind, cease without reminder? Instead, this is how the question should have been put. Where do earth, water, fire and wind, long and short, fine and coarse, pure and impure, no footing find? Where is it that the both Nama and Rupa fade out, leaving no trace behind?" And the answer is in the awakened consciousness, the invisible, the limitless, radiant. There is that the earth, water, fire and wind, and long and short, fine and coarse, pure and impure, no footing find. There is it that both Nama and Rupa fade out, leaving no trace behind. When discriminative consciousness comes to its limit, they are held in, checked therein. The term Anidasya Vijnana has been translated in various other ways, where consciousness is fineless. That's by the Walsh. The consciousness that makes no showing, that is Jnanamoli, and most helpfully by Bhikkhu Jnanananda in his book Concept and Reality, in page number 59, as non-manifestive consciousness. It is unlikely that the English language has a term that can accurately convey the constellation of meanings that Anidasya Vijnana possesses. However, it is generally this set of qualities that Ajahn Sumedho is referring to when he uses the term consciousness.
See, that is where the problems begin to arise.
As he says, Vijnanam anidasam anattam sapato papham is a mouthful of words that point to the state of natural consciousness, this reality. So the reader should bear in the mind that most of the time he is deliberately using the single word consciousness as a shorthand for anidasya vijnanam.
See, this is the key thing. He is using the word consciousness as a shorthand for anidasana vijnana, not for the sense sphere vijnana and other things which we are associating. That is the problem.
Naturally, he also uses the word with its customary spiritual meaning of discriminative cognizing, as well as in the sense of rebirth consciousness, patisandhi vijnana, for example. When we are born into a physical birth, we have consciousness with this form. In addition, Ajahn Suveda also occasionally uses the word in the ordinary English sense, that is describing the state of not being unconscious, being awake and aware of one's surroundings and identity.
You can see he's using same word for different connotations. So you have to figure out what is the reference, what is he referring to.
An obvious parallel to Ajahn Suveda's usage of the word consciousness is a Thai phrase puru, employed by many of the Forest Ajahns. The literal translation of pu is person and ru knowing. So puru has been variously rendered as knowing, the one who knows, awareness, or even Buddha wisdom. It is also a term that can be used to convey a large spectrum of meanings, from the simple act of the mind cognizing an object, a classical definition of vijnana, through varying levels of refinement, as in being the witness of the phenomena arising and passing, to the utterly unobstructed awareness of the fully awakened heart.
That is the point. So you can start from mindfulness to the awareness of an arahant. He's using same word for everything. Because in Thailand also we use the same word, puru, for that. So he's using the same word, and therefore this kind of a difficulty can arise.
So puru can mean anything from simple cognition to the wisdom of the fully enlightened Buddha. And just as with Ajahn Suveda's employment of the word consciousness, it is necessary with the term puru to look at the context and to take into account the favorite expressions of the Ajahns in question, in order to discern the intended nuance of the meaning, ergo caveat lector. That's probably been French meaning. Since there is such a variety of meanings contingent upon the one word consciousness in this book, it would thus be wise for the reader always to reflect on the circumstance in which the word is being used. In this light, it might be felt by some that it would have been more helpful not to use the word consciousness in such a broad range of ways, that perhaps sticking to more familiar terminology which might have been easier on the listener and the readers, perhaps using a word like chitta, heart, as defining the agent of pure awareness instead of anidasya vijnana. But this is not the way that such organic and freestyle methods of teaching usually work. As said above, it has been the explicit aim of the editors of this book to maintain spontaneous and informal style of Ajahn Suveda's spoken words. All of his talks are extemporaneous,
Prepare नहीं करते हैं ना वो लोग.
taking shape as they are expressed according to the needs of the listeners present. And part of this methodology of instruction is that it often demands that the listeners or reader expand their range of view what the teaching and the practice is, and how certain words can or should be used. Furthermore, this spontaneous and direct method of expounding the Dhamma encourages the audience to allow themselves to be changed by what they see and hear, rather than judge it according to whether or not it complies with familiar and favored patterns of thinking. And are we going to complain to Van Gogh that the church built like that would never stand up? Probably not. So, as you, reader, wend your ways through these pages and explore this small gallery of Ajahn Sumedho's teaching, it is our fond hope that you find here the words and images that help you awaken and free the heart. Whatever is thus meaningful and good, please take it, install it in your life, and whatever is not, please leave it and pass it by in peace.
Good. I think that should be enough food for thought.
But sir, then when Ajahn Sumedho says trust in awareness, what does the...
Because that is the gateway. You also say that Dhampada verse he recites again and again. Appamado amitam padam. Awareness, mindfulness is the gateway to liberation. Gateway to liberation. Yes, that is true. It is through sati, through awareness that you will get. So trust in it. So that this will take you to the ultimate good. Don't worry. That's what I mean. That you don't have to worry about anything. If you trust in it, it will take you to the good. But don't assume that to be the good. Don't assume that mindfulness is the good.
But
that's why I said this preface is very helpful. Because people can get miseasily.
Most of his talk, he always focused on trust in awareness, trust in awareness.
That is what it means. Trust in awareness means this exactly. कभी तो मैंने भी पूछा था ना, आप ट्रस्ट कहते हैं उससे अवेयरनेस पे ट्रस्ट होता नहीं, कोई चीज तो है नहीं. Then you try to explain it again. That is the only refuge we have. Nothing else is more reliable. You can't rely on anything else other than awareness. बाकी सब तो mental factors हैं, क्या rely करोगे? Awareness is the nearest pure thing which is available to us. Pure in the sense that it does not get clouded by what it is seen. So that is the only way which can lead us to, by establishing ourselves in that again and again and again and again, that will lead us to the goal of experiencing the pure consciousness, pure awareness, and it is kuch bhi kya le, koi bhi shak. So that is what he is pointing. So you can reflect on it and then maybe discuss again if needs.
Sudhakar says, please elaborate Goenkaji's trust in anicca versus trust in awareness.
See, you see the practicality of it. Anicca is, trust is helpful to us in our day-to-day life, isn't it? From the point of view of not getting worried about things which are happening in the life. So to that extent it is the step. But just anicca will not take you to liberation unless you translate it into anatta. There are all the three dimensions of characteristics of reality have to be given importance, then only you can do it. Had that been the case, there was no need for Buddha to give anatta lakkhana sutta. Why should he talk about all that? Matter would have ended at the first discourse. Isn't it? So you can see there is something more than anicca which is needed, which is actually understanding of coming out of anicca only. But that understanding has to be put into practice, that it is not just that the body is impermanent and the things are impermanent. But he's not pointing out to that which is permanent, because traditionally in the Burmese tradition they don't talk about something which is abiding, pure, and so these two things, Anityasana Vijnana, is usually ignored. Even Bhikkhu Bodhi says in his book, they have remained too enigmatic for the phrases of the orthodoxy to understand. We don't understand what it means. It's very truthfully mentioned it. It needs a great courage to say such things. So they have remained an enigma, and he mentions the same thing. जैसे इसमें था ना, इन्होंने भिक्षु नानमोरी ने ये ट्रांसलेशन किया, उसने ये किया, एंड भिक्षु ज्ञानानंद का ट्रांसलेशन उनको भी यही कहते हैं कि यही मुझे सबसे बेस्ट लगता है. It seems to be most authentic because it conveys the whole meaning, and the small book, Concept and Reality, really amazing insight into the nature of these Buddhas. जो complicated 2-3 words हैं, उनके ऊपर उन्होंने लिखी है. एक अनित्यसना विज्ञान पे, एक और संन्यास संखास वाली जो बात है. So as to explain that they are actually the experiences of an arahant who experiences the नाम रूप, जैसे बात थी ना नाम रूप परिच्छेद, he experiences that when we say in the paticca samutpada, reverse direction में कहते हैं ना, अविद्यायत अशेष विराग निरोधा संखार निरोध. Then we say संखार निरोधा विज्ञान निरोध. Now what does it mean विज्ञान निरोधा? It means sense sphere विज्ञान निरोधा. Because person is alive, he has not died. So when vijnana, sense sphere vijnana nirodha, nama rupa nirodha. But what keeps the person alive is the anityasana vijnana, because he is abiding in that. In that state, he is directly experiencing that. Where you have so many details given in some sense. There is no light, there is no sun, there is no moon. Still, it's not darkness. That kind of an explanations are given because they are all transcendental experiences of pure awareness without any contact with the sense spheres. The contact with sense spheres is gone. That's how the Paticca Samutpada explains. So this part of understanding is not discussed in the Burmese tradition. I have not seen it being discussed, and therefore it doesn't find place in our teachings.
Second level of awareness, as I remember you mentioned it.
Yeah.
First level is the discriminating sense sphere awareness. You're putting an attention to something you're seeing. And then the second level of awareness is being aware of this.
Aware of this. Yeah.
So I think the first level is many times that is uses vijnana and sense sphere consciousness and all that. The second level of awareness
is mindfulness, sati.
Right.
That is
and that has, I completely agree, that should not be related to sense sphere consciousness or peace consciousness or this. But what at least I believe that Ajahn Sumit was saying that second level is the pure consciousness.
That's why I asked.
But he
Sati Sampajanya and Anityasana Vijnana, different things. Read it again. That awareness of unconditioned is manifesting as conditioned. So the Apamado Amrita Padam, it's not the goal. Apamad is not the goal. The mindfulness is not the goal. It is the path. It is the route to Amrita, to immortality, to experience of the unconditioned. So it is very clear. That is the way. By getting more and more strengthened in that, we ultimately experience the unconditioned. That is the nearest intimation of unconditioned. Okay, you can put it that way. Mindfulness is an intimation of unconditioned, that you also are able to see things without getting trapped in them. You are able to see that the anger is arising. So that is the mindfulness capability, which is the hint that there is a possibility of abiding in that kind of an awareness all the time.
But beyond that, do we need to really worry?
Yeah, we don't need to worry. But when you make a statement, you can get trapped in that. If you make a statement that this is what it is,
But
and therefore sati is all that one has to experience, and therefore whenever we are aware of things dispassionately, we are experiencing unconditioned, is exaggeration.
But any statement about unconditioned is exaggeration, because
That's why it's not discussed in the literature. There are only two discourses where Buddha was like kind of trapped into giving some statement.
but even if keeping unconditioned separate rather than trying to define it, if you just say that trying to abide in awareness
is the goal or the path?
is the path.
Perfect. If it is path, perfect. But if you say it is the goal, then you are stopped. Then you will stop. Okay. That is the problem.
And how do you stop or how do you make the distinction between path and the goal?
Because you have to cultivate it more and more. You have to become foundation, satipatthana, it has to be established. Yavadev jnanamattaya satimattaya. You have to practice to such an extent that there is only knowledge and there is only awareness, nothing else. That notion of I is finished. अभी तो माइंडफुलनेस के साथ आई है, आई एम अवेयर. देखो मुझे पता चल जाता है मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है. That notion of I is there. That is the trap. That's why Rodney Smith uses the word from mindfulness to awareness. He tries to distinguish between the two, from mindfulness to awareness.
We can generally, the sense of I seems like a sense clear consciousness, the sixth part. You get a sense I, but you can be aware that you were looking at it as personally. There is the second level awareness for the sense of I also.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Not always.
That sense, second level of awareness of the sense of I is not I.
Yeah, but there's a level of attachment to that concept. But in any case, what do we get out of all that discussion? Let me put very clearly. What do we get out of the discussion? My only concern is that if we rest assured that mindfulness is the goal, then we will not practice strongly. We will not practice to establish it more and more and more and more. We will be happy. बीच में mindful हो जाते हैं. I'm experiencing unconditioned. अब क्या रह गया? That is the problem. That is the trap. That is a big trap, which I have seen people fall in. Big people I have seen fall in that trap. And then you sentimentalize it and become, oh, wonderful. They are all one. They are all wonderful. It looks so nice. So charming, that we are all one. We are all same thing. We are all wonderful. And it gives you a great romantic feeling, And it can be so happy, it can uplift you, give you a feeling of great purity and joy. You remain in a different cloud altogether. And then you get trapped. That is the point.
But then we can try to say that the path is to keep cultivating mindfulness,
Yes.
so that you can avoid
Till such time as Yahweh Jnanamattaya Satimattaya, because it becomes so clear that every moment you are aware, there is no feeling of I, there is no scent of I remain. Then he says you will become anagami or arhan. This is what Buddha's words are there in Satipatthana Sutta. You have to take it to be true. Isn't it?
but somehow don't make it kind of a goal kind of a thing as a Jansu
Yeah, you are not getting attached to it. If you get attached to it, then you are again trapped. You are trapped at the same thing. So it's a very, very paradoxical and a very delicate thing. If you get attached to मुझे ये गोल बनाना है, तो फिर तो गए काम से. फिर तो कुछ अचीव करना चाहता हूँ, तो मैं कुछ अचीव करना चाहता हूँ. मैं सतीश प्रतिष्ठित होना चाहता हूँ, तो फिर तो हो भी है ना? So there is a very fine kind of trap which is very difficult to see. And once you see that trap, then you will not fall for it in the very quickly. You will that will protect you.
That's the protection.
From falling in the trap.
So we can look at it.
Before that, actually, I just wanted to complete the Sudhakar's question. He had asked about anicca versus So his follow-up question was that do they mean same?
Do they?
Anicca.
So anicca book, the way Goenka ji describes anicca and the way I think the Ajahn Samhita describes trust in awareness.
Trust is anicca and trust and awareness are the same things or not?
Not exactly. Not exactly the same.
They're not.
Not exactly the same. Because the trust in anicca is the way, is the root to that. Trust in anicca is the root to trust in awareness. Is a route through a path through which you can go to understanding of anatta. Because unless one of the arguments that there is no self, no I, because everything is impermanent, they are changing and they are conditioned, they are operating through, they are getting changed through conditions. So the anicca understanding forms the basis of anatta understanding. But it doesn't automatically come by just being understanding anicca. One has to put it into analysis, investigation. Then you get established in it. Then you can say, yeah, you are being trusting in impersonal awareness. Awareness is impersonal. Impersonality. That's the beauty of it. It is if you are not lost in thoughts, then the sati, unless you are so ignorant as to take sati personally, मैं तो बहुत mindful होना शुरू हो गया हूँ, then you are trapped, isn't it? मैं तो अनित्य बोध मेरा बहुत पुष्ट हो गया है, तो trapped. आपका अनित्य बोध अगर पुष्ट हो गया है, तो trapped in that. क्योंकि आप तो है ना. Now that is a very subtle point which has to be seen.
Because जब अनित्य बोध होगा तो आई नहीं रहेगा.
सचमुच में अगर होगा तो आई नहीं होना चाहिए. तो अगर वो सचमुच में उस लेवल तक पेनिट्रेट करता है तब तो सही है, क्योंकि सामान्य तरह से करता नहीं है, क्योंकि भगवान के 5 डिसाइपल्स को नहीं करा, उनको एक अलग से परमिशन देना पड़ा. So we just learn from what Buddha has taught. We have no way to learn from anything else. So I interpret it in that meaning that it is not automatic as we assume. कि नित्य बोध हो जाएगा तो अनात्म बोध अपने आप हो जाएगा, ऐसा नहीं हुआ. अगर अन्य को निंदे के नहीं हुआ तो हमारे कैसे हो जाएगा? So there is a subtle difference. So ये भी नहीं हो पाया भाई. I think we'll have to.
So Raghav has this follow-up question. So how to cultivate anatam bodh?
Yeah, that's what the whole practice of Ajahn Sumedho's emphasis is, understanding. Read Anatta Dukkha Sutta and reflect on it again and again and again and again.
I think that was his answer was to I think Arpan's question on sitting meditation was you sit and reflect.
Yeah.
You question.
Because that is a peaceful time when you can reflect. When you are walking, better not reflect, you will fall down.
Actually, even walking is other when you are in the day-to-day life. You can't reflect.
I think he said
those reflections happen, but I think the deep reflections don't happen.
Yeah, it's very nicely answered. He didn't give that traditional answer. He's a totally absolutely different person, इसलिए वो बाकियों को समझ में नहीं आती है. इस बात को इतने मॉन्क से मिला है ना, कई मॉन्क्स को समझ नहीं आता भगवान या अजान से मेरे को क्या कर रहे हैं. What are you doing? He told me, one of them told me that seems to be doing something very difficult for others to understand. So there are so many opinions about him. Today this time I came to know. I didn't know earlier. Just amazing thing. Because he's not following any tradition. He's not following any scripture other than Four Noble Truths. He studied them. Obviously because he knows about everything. Anik Darsana Vijnana and fetters. एक डिस्कोर्स में उन्होंने 10 fetters पे भी डिस्कशन कर दिया.
Factors of
enlightenment भी कर दिया सब कुछ. जब उनका मूड आता है, they will talk and use the scripture. But
I think
discourses are primarily based on the
discourse. He mentioned that he has actually went to a monastery and studied Abhidhamma in his early days.
वो encourage किया जाता है ना.
But he obviously is now miles away from it.
Yes.
So he's not away from it from.
The spirit is same.
But he
doesn't follow he doesn't use it for any explanation because that explanation will not suit most of the people. That will only suit people who have studied it. They can't understand it.
Could it be the fact that the second level of awareness, now I'll use the second level and not the first level because I think that creates the confusion, is the path and that's it. Because if we don't do that, then we have a goal somewhere else. And that goal somewhere else creates the sense of I that I have to achieve that goal. If the second level of awareness is the path and that's it.
Yeah, the path will take you.
No, but
you are on the right path.
But if we have this underlying implicit assumption that the goal is somewhere else.
Not somewhere else. The path will make us do that goal, definitely. If you don't keep a goal in view,
you have to walk on the path.
That's it. I completely agree. But if you don't keep a goal in the view,
I don't think the path is it.
Yeah.
But I think to me, what it feels like that the goal creates that sense of I.
Yeah, it depends on how you understand it.
But if you see the path is it, then it ends there. There is no path.
Actually, you have to say that along with the path there is unconditioned.
The path ends somewhere. Please. Path is not endless. Let's be clear. You have to become and be able to say, there's nothing more to learn. Please. Yes. When we come to a stage where we say, there's nothing more to learn. Finish. Once we have tried
if we say that, then we all want to become arhats and then that becomes like a me want to.
That's the whole idea works for man. You will get attached to that. But if we don't keep that goal in view, then path is ending. He's put it himself. He's not walking on the path now. There's nothing more to learn. That has to, finality has to come someday. All arhats are declared. In all Treya, Gatha, Theri, Gatha, full of that declaration. Nothing more to be done.
That finality comes from the fact that we are not, now we don't get deluded out of the past. What in daily experience, what happens is that
I'm not talking about day-to-day existence of ours. Obviously, their path is the key thing. But all that I'm trying to point out is that let's not rest content. Because Buddha constantly keeps on saying again and again to arouse our energy. हमारा विजय नहीं अराउज होगा यार अगर हम कंटेंट हो गए हाँ पाथ पे चल रहे हैं हो जाएगा काला मार्ग में
चल नहीं रहे ना
काला मार्ग में दिस व्हाट इज हैपनिंग अगर
उनकी बात नहीं करते सब जो थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा हो गए व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज दैट द पाथ इज अबाइडिंग इन द सेकंड लेवल ऑफ अवेयरनेस एंड we know that on some moments we are, some moments we are not. The moment we are not, then that goes to zero.
No.
No. When that goes to zero means slowly those moments will reduce, and the moment when you are abiding in the second level of awareness will increase, and the time when this is full, and there are no moments where you are not.
That awareness is not bare attention. Please understand that.
No, I'm not.
That awareness is with knowledge. That awareness is with discriminating awareness. उन्होंने कहा था ना सेकंड भोजन इस बार तो कहा उन्होंने खुद ही सेकंड पार्ट ऑफ भोजन गाइस धम्म विचार said it listen this so धम्म विचार has to be there constantly not just bare attention
so bare attention being aware of the bare attention
no discrimination awareness, cutting through the delusions, understanding that they are not me, not myself. That is constantly has to be there.
In second level of awareness, that is the understanding is implicit.
Because it's not implicit. Sati is not implicit. That's what is the advantage of understanding. Sati is not implicit. Sati is not enough. And the Sati Panya ki zarurat kya thi kehne ki? Why was the need for saying Sati Panya? Agar Sati sufficient hoti thi.
Sati can be interpreted as first level, discriminatory sensual consciousness.
Go for second level. First kya hui? First hui cognition. Okay? Vijnana. Second level हमने कहा Sati. Sati has to be associated with Panya. Then it forms the path. Sati with Panya forms the path. Otherwise, Sati by itself will not be enough. That is what Abhidhamma teaches us. And that's what that story of Jan Bohm teaches you, of the gatekeeper of a palace. He saw the thieves going in, coming in. ठीक है जा रहे हैं. Honestly बता दिया राजा को, हाँ people came, they took away your things. You just observing, आपने कहा था ना देखते रहना, हम देखते रहे. कोई रिएक्शन नहीं किया हमने, कोई प्रतिक्रिया नहीं की. ये हाल हो जाएगा हमारा भी. So there is a requirement of that. So we have to be really very mindful of that. How much stress Nayan Sunil and they give, and even Nayancha gives on reflection.
Reflections तो reflection से ही ये establish हो रहा है.
Yeah. So that has to continue even with every awareness that, and especially the moment we get trapped in world, the reflection should arise. See how I got trapped. Then that deviations will become learning experiences. They will become learning. They will become experiences of strengthening of Panya. Strengthening of Panya, more and more understanding of Anicca, Anatta, Dukkha. That's very important actually. You know, the arousal of energy, we भी जब तक नहीं आएगा तब तक हम पास पे ठीक से चल नहीं पाते हैं. We become complacency is so easy.
But we were to sometimes, having the faith that the consciousness is the path. Then we बहुत बुरा आ जाता है.
It can, but it usually does not, because the world is so much, too much with us. उसी पोएम जो बच्चे को पढ़ी तब तो समझ नहीं आई. उसी पोएम में टाइटल था वर्ल्ड इज टू मच विद अस. बेटा क्या कह रहा है यार, फालतू बात है. टू मच विद अस. That is the real issue. Otherwise, there was no need for inventing such similes like a person's head is on fire, hair is burning, and with that, with what intensity he will go and quench that. With same intensity he should pursue the path. So those are all means of us, so that we don't lose sight of the need for walking on the path. Because complacency बहुत जल्दी आ जाती है ना. Especially when you walked on the path and you gained some kind of composure, some kind of equilibrium, some kind of peace, some kind of equanimity. But ठीक है यार, चल रहा है. Then one becomes complacent. That's what I've noticed in me. So I'm just cautioning.
There were just two questions. First one was again from Sudhakar, how to cultivate Anatam Bodh.
Yeah, reflection is the only way. Practice, reflection, observation, seeing the things impersonally, satipatthana properly doing. So I would very respectfully say, please listen to see the satipatthana discourses, go through them again, see what is it saying. That will be very important, because that is pointing out towards that. Things are happening on their own. When we do anapana and breath comes in and out and mind quietens down, you can see breathing is happening. I am not doing breathing. So one has to reflect in that direction. When I am meditating, thoughts are arising. I am not wanting to think, यार मैं तो ध्यान करना चाहता था, ये क्या हो रहा है? The damn thoughts are arising on their own. They are not mine. I don't know, but I hold them. And then I say, मेरा thought है, इसको जरा देखूं मैं. That kind of a reflection again and again. Every experience can give you an understanding of impersonality. If you see it in that light. Chittanupassana is so powerful in telling us of impersonal nature of existence. Things arise, pass away. So you see them, they are not mine, they are not me, they are not myself. So that kind of reflection Buddha advises again and again. You know the 3 phase, I keep on repeating it so many times. Buddha repeats it so many times. Na etad mam, na eso aham, na eso attata. This is not mine, this is not me, this is not myself. This phrase he says you apply to anything. To any experience in this world you apply that and it will be true. ऐसी स्टेटमेंट कभी सुने नहीं हो क्या? कोई ऐसा कह दे ये फ्रेज जो है हर चीज के लिए एप्लीकेबल है, देख लो. And you see it is true. And when you apply and reflect on that, just this 3 phrases, this one sentence भी नहीं है पूरा है. Then we develop the impersonal. There is another teaching, you know. नालम अग्निवेश्य वो अजान बुद्धदासा की फेवरेट टीचिंग थी वो. Nothing whatsoever should be seen as me or mine or myself. Same thing in different words. तो सुत्ता है एक्चुअली देवता के शक का जो होता है, क्या कहते हैं, इंद्र, देवताओं का राजा. He goes to Buddha and says, you know, we respect your teaching so much, but लंबे डिस्कोर्स टाइम नहीं है सुनने का. एक सेंटेंस में बता दो क्या करना. He tells it, Sabbe Dhamma Nalam Abnivesyas. Nothing whatsoever should be grasped as me or mine. Says this you practice, it will liberate you. Just reflect on that again and again and again in our daily life. Are we taking things like that? In our practice, are we doing like that? And that's how the anatta will develop. And when we practice, then we can see things that are happening. And then slowly, through practice also, we begin to see that. The impersonal nature of breathing, the impersonal nature of everything which is happening in the body, the impersonal nature of thoughts arising and passing away, impersonal nature of emotions, impersonal nature of craving and aversion. Once we see that, then we are really free. अभी तक तो हमको साधक अधिकतर क्रेविंग और अवर्शन को अपना पकड़ के रखते हैं. मेरे मन में बहुत क्रेविंग है, मेरे मन में बहुत अवर्शन है, which is in some sense true, in some sense not true. In the conventional sense true, in the absolute sense it is not true. But that kind of a distinction is great help. So these are the ways by which you can really cultivate ananda. Is that okay?
There was just one question, Amit.
So Amit says, what is Ajahn Sumedho's views on the Abhidhamma and commentaries?
Yeah, he says these are not necessary. They'll blow up your mind. He says they are not necessary. It's true. Can be helpful to those people who have investigative nature. It's not necessary for a person who is given totally to practice. And that too, because he is practicing with investigation anyway. He is actually applying Abhidhamma rather than reading it. The extent to which he has penetrated into the experience is amazing. You know, people don't understand it. Karte kya rehte hain? What does he mean by doing it? I could see that many people are not able to get at what he is saying. Even in the monk community, many people find it very difficult because it is so untraditional.
वो कहते हैं I've done.
इसमें है ना प्रवचन में कहा.
मुझे मिल गया. That is also नहीं है.
It's not. It's a matter of fact. हम तो अहंकार से कहते हैं. भगवान बुद्ध ने नहीं कहा था I am the Buddha. Does he say it out of grasping? Does he say out of? Because he is asking me, who are you? He says, I am the Buddha. That's it. Finished. That is my description. I am not a prince. I am not a saint. I am not a belonging to a human being. He says, are you a human being? He says, no. Not in this convention. He says, are you a deva? He says, no. Who is your teacher? No one. He says, क्या कह रहा है? What is he saying? When he asks, who are you? He says, I am awakened. Now you can say, oh, he is being so proud. He's saying he's awakened. Obviously, what will he say? I'm not awakened. What will he say? जब किसी को समझ नहीं आ रहा तो नहीं saying that. So when you ask the question, इस तरह से अपने question पूछ लिया हमसे. He just made that statement. हमने क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया था क्योंकि वो कई लोगों ने हमसे कहा था कि जो ये जो which is not really in accordance with even scripture, that unless you practice deep samadhi, the inner latent defilements don't come out. It's not true according to, but I didn't want to argue with a senior monk. It's not good. I kept quiet. So I sent him as my usual number of emails to counter it. It's not good to say. And then he said, no, that's not. I said, okay, fine, let's close that matter. We'll understand. We'll know it from our own experience. So then, so that question was that point, comment was at my back of my mind. अर्पण ने बाई चांस पूछ ही लिया तो फिर मैंने उसको सप्लीमेंट कर दिया. Then rather than answering it in that manner कि वो गलत है, he doesn't never say that. He'll never say that. I've seen his replies are always affirmative. So मैंने कह दिया there's nothing more to be done by through investigation. Now what more can you get an answer? That investigation is leading to.
Basically what he's saying, मैंने तो यही किया और मैं देखो कहाँ पहुँच गया. अब तुम इंटरप्रेट कर लो.
Yeah. He says he never says that. The first time he has made that statement.
जैसे मैंने ये statement exactly ऐसी नहीं थी. अच्छा. But it kind of was much more. This was very explicit.
कहीं है क्या?
मैंने actually वो 108 talks सुना ना. उसमें से एक रेफरेंस भेजना मुझे सुनना चाहिए. उसमें से एक और मैंने seen as telling Deepak also कि last 4-5 years में he is becoming a lot more unconventional, extremely unconventional, and I think in one of the recent talks he did subtly mention.
Yes.
But this was like nowhere.
No ambiguity.
This was nowhere.
And then he followed it up by saying, so it seems to me that this is the ultimate purpose of human life. Otherwise, you will have been born again. Yeah. He's making so explicit statement. Otherwise, you will be born again and again and again.